Hi guys, Ryan Fowler here with Teresa Kuhn, Inner Masculine Live here with Inner Feminine. We have an interesting one today. We're going to look at the life of Brett Butler. She was a star of Grace Under Fire, a very it's like top one new show. It went on for 5 years. Very, very well received comedy. Famous comedian. Oh, Mike Wong, you're already in the show. Crazy topic. Work with 2 hypnotherapists. Yeah, I've had 6 clients become hypnotherapists, by the way. I hope, and though it helped me immensely in a few areas I guess you're going to write more because it got cut off. But
I'm curious why he calls himself Mr. Wrong.
Oh, Mr. Wrong, not Wong. Okay. All right, cool, man. Welcome to the show, Mr. Wrong. I said Wong. And here's the rest of his comment. Helped his life immensely, didn't impact his addiction at all. All right, come to me, man.
And I have one comment from Mr. Wrong. Hey, Mr. Wrong. I wouldn't call myself Mr. Wrong. I would call myself something more empowering.
Oh, yeah. Come on, man, podcast. Yeah, so I was on Paul Bauer is a real stand-up guy. I love Paul Bauer. I think he's I was on his show. He was very gracious to me. Very helpful guy, too. So nothing but good things to say about Paul. And we're going to watch this clip of Brett Butler, and we'll talk a little bit about addiction. It's really, really, really important to fix your inner world. And yeah, you have to target it specifically, but fixing toxic shame by itself may not necessarily fix addiction. It could. I had a guy who was a cocaine addict, and I did one session. I just followed up 2 weeks later. He's like an avid cocaine addict. I followed up with him 2 weeks later, and he's like, well, it's weird. I haven't done cocaine in 2 weeks and haven't even wanted to. And I have had people quit addictions. But with that said, I don't think hypnosis by itself, I think it cures some very fundamental root core problems of addiction, or I think it can if it's done right. But I think there's more that needs to be done. I think you need to replace your addiction with good, healthy ways. Brett Butler in one of our interviews talks about, there's good ways to get endorphins, and accountability. There's some other stuff you have to do because, hey, addiction is tough. Yeah, Mr. Wrong's a joke about women looking for Mr. Right. Yeah, okay, cool, man. It's all good. Damn, man. Well, I'm glad you have 18 days now, brother.
Congratulations.
Congrats to you. That is no small feat. And one of the reasons I want to show Brett Butler today is to really put a human side on addiction. I think she's a fundamentally good lady. She came into her show. She was 7 years sober, but she had a back injury and was prescribed painkillers. And that's what got her back on. I mean, it's just really tragic. But we're going to look at all these, she had a really rough childhood. We're going to look at all those fundamentals today when we go through this clip. Is there anything you want to add about addiction or anything else before we welcome Teresa? Welcome to the show. Anything you want to add before we dive in?
Absolutely. So, and Mr. Wrong, congratulations. I mean, that is huge. And I would just look at the language. I get it's a play on women looking for Mr. Right. And I would make sure it's so important that your outside world, what you put out there is congruent with who you want to become. You may not feel like Mr. Right all the time right now, but the more congruent you are with who you want to be, who you're becoming, it's going to accelerate that process. And Ryan, you just said something about Brett Butler not, being a good woman.
She is a good woman. I really think she is.
Addiction has nothing to do with whether somebody is good or bad.
True.
Right? The two are not correlated. Now, was she making good choices or bad choices? Was she making choices in line with becoming or having the life that she wanted? That's possible. Obviously not.
I think it's tragic she was prescribed a medication. That's what got her addicted again. And when OxyContin and all this stuff came out, or whatever it was she was prescribed, they said it wasn't addictive. They're like, here's this new thing, not addictive.
Exactly. So here she made the effort to change her life, make choices for 7 years, right? Where she was sober, and someone, the white lab coat syndrome, the doctor, the expert, the professional who's supposed to be looking out for her, gave her something that helped her spiral back down. It's tragic on so many levels. And I believe, toxic shame, hypnosis, all of that may not cure addiction, but I will tell you that the more you build yourself up, the more choices you're going to make being aligned with that person you want to be.
Yeah, so it's okay if you're Mr. Wrong. I'm Mr. Right now, baby. No, I'm just kidding. So that's why you haven't found Mr. Right.
Mr. Right now, I got it.
You're finding, you got a Mr. Wrong here and a Mr. Right now. No Mr. Right.
So where's my Mr. Right?
Where is he?
Huh?
Damn it. All right. So, all right. Before we dive into it, hey guys, I got a new community. We just hit a milestone that's pretty cool. I want to show you just real super quick. MindChrysalis. So we're eventually rebranding to MindChrysalis because I've always, I think I've said it on here. It's my goal to change the world with this. I think, the technology we use is extremely powerful. So did I close that? No, I have it open. All right, hold on. I'm hitting all these random buttons. I'm hitting all the wrong buttons. I'm trying to bring it up. All right, here we go. MindChrysalis. Listen, guys, there is a lot of powerful stuff on here. We do 2 webinars a month with live Q&A. If you want to talk to me, we have a classroom here. Past webinars. Don't have links to these videos yet. But I got a whole classroom here with self-hypnosis, actual audios and training and videos and all sorts of stuff. We got my book on how the subconscious mind works and why it keeps you stuck. But in addition to that, and here's a table of contents, it's pretty thorough. This gives you a great fundamental understanding of how our subconscious works and what's all this procrastination, self-sabotage, anxiety, among other things. We cover addiction in this book. What's going on? Why does our subconscious give us all these things, and what do we do to handle it, overcome it, So the book doesn't tell everything to cure it, but the rest of it is here. So it's all good, man. So join this community because you also get to interact with others. If you're struggling with stuff, hey, maybe this will help you. I think it will. It's a very active community. It was actually just rated top 5% of all websites in this group for engagement. Wow. So people are very engaged. Yeah, it's 80% of the members are active on the group, which puts us in the top 5% of activity. That's just found that out yesterday from the data, whatever. So very active website. People are commenting, helping each other out. Using our program. There's a paid program, but the free program is still pretty powerful. I put some of my most powerful stuff in the free program that you can use for free. People are fixing themselves for free here and engaging and learning how to level up. And we got webinars for free twice a month as well. So that is MindChrysalis. Now, the correct link is in the description down below. But you can also see in the green and white print underneath my handsome face is you can go there and then you just join and then you get all that stuff, no charge. Let's change the world together. EC Smooth, welcome to the world. And welcome to the show, not the world, world 2. I'll welcome you to the world as well. Healing the Shame That Binds You is amazing. I'm gonna quote from Healing the Shame That Binds You today and show you a quote that's actually quoted in my book, the ebook. But let's go ahead and dive into this. Brett Butler was an A-list actress. She was a star of Grace Under Fire in the 90s. She's like this very, back in the day, she was a very famous comedian with this kind of Southern drawl, and she was hilarious. And, it's kind of like the female version of Jeff Foxworthy with even more of a drawl. And she had her struggles. And there's a lot to say about addiction, childhood trauma, toxic shame here to comment on. So we have a clip here, and it's going to kind of go over her life. And it's about 9 minutes, but we'll watch on like 1 1/4 speed. And we'll just go ahead and dive in. Do you have anything to add, or you just want us to dive in, Teresa?
Let's go swimming in the deep end of the pool.
This is the deep end of the pool. Let's do it. So if you want to pause and comment anytime, just yell until I stop.
Okay.
I'm hard of hearing, so you might have Ryan, stop. And then 30 seconds later, I'll stop. So, and then you can comment. Here we go. Boom. All right.
Comedian and actress Brett Butler was once one of the reigning queens of American sitcoms. Her show, Grace Under Fire, which was based on her stand-up comedy, was not only the highest-rated new show of 1993 and 94, but it was also the 5th most-watched TV show that year. She was earning around $250K an episode and sitting on top of the world. But things came crashing down when she began to struggle with drug addiction. She had to take time off for recovery, the show's ratings plummeted, and it was canceled while they shot their 5th season. But Brett's fall was only beginning. Over the next years, she squandered $25 million struggling to pay the mortgage on her Georgia farm. In this video, we're taking a look at the rise and fall of Brett Butler and how she's finally managed to turn things around in Hollywood. Butler hails from Montgomery, Alabama, and was named Brett Anderson by birth. She was the oldest of 5 girls to Roland Anderson Jr. and Carol Anderson. While Brett's dad was a successful oil exec, he was also an abusive alcoholic. So to help the girls live in a safer situation, Carol moved them to Miami. They struggled to make ends meet. Butler has talked about how they were so poor, they sometimes had to scrounge together meals or eat Tootsie Rolls as supper. But Butler managed to do well enough in school to get into the University of Georgia. She met and married a man named Charles Michael Wilson in 1978 when she was 20. Sadly, he abused her, but she managed to get out of the marriage within a couple.
Already perpetuating the cycle, abusive dad, abusive husband. It's how our subconscious works.
Of years. Upon returning to Miami and moving back in with her mother, she dabbled in stand-up comedy at local clubs. She slowly made a name for herself in the local stand-up scene before moving to New York in 1984. While there, she got hitched again, this time to a man named Ken Zeiger. It wasn't long before Butler's stellar comedy act caught the eye of the bookers from The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. She made her debut on the show in 1987 and wowed both Johnny and the viewing audience. That same year, she was hired onto the writing staff of a variety series Dolly Parton was doing called Dolly, but that show was canceled after a season. Grace Under Fire. Everything changed for Brett when she was approached by the creators of Roseanne, who were looking to create a similar show that would be based around her life and stand-up. Brett agreed, and mega producer Chuck Lorre was brought on to run the show. Grace Under Fire was an immediate hit. It starred Brett in the lead role, alongside veteran comedy stars like Dave Thomas, as well as adorable child actors like Caitlin Cullum. It started off in the ultimate slot in the schedule, airing directly after monster hit Home Improvement. That meant it was off and running from the get-go. It was a rare case where both audiences and critics loved it equally. The New York Times wrote in its glowing review that Brett wielded a Southern accent, quote, like a lethal stiletto. Grace Under Fire managed to appeal to multiple demographics, and Brett even garnered Golden Globe nominations twice, 1995 and 97, for her performance. It appeared as if it would have a long and successful run. Sadly, it did not. Brett's drug issues. By the time Brett became a famous TV star, she had already been through the ringer when it comes to life struggles. At that point, though, it appeared as if she was through these rough patches and was primed for success. She had already kicked an alcohol dependence and had gotten out from her marriage to her abusive ex-husband. And even before that, she had suffered at the hands of her abusive alcoholic father. But when Grace Under Fire began airing, she was no longer in the throes of these terrible issues. Yet the demon that is addiction still found its way back to her. At one point, early on in Grace's airing, she was prescribed Vicodin to help her deal with back pain from sciatica. It was only a short time before she became addicted, and this wreaked havoc on her life and her work.
So let's do a little discussion here, Teresa. Why do you think she got re-addicted? You know, they say once an addict, always the addict. Does it really have to be that way? Why is that? What do you think?
Well, I actually think at a very high level, and this is going to be, of course, very controversial, but I believe you can heal addiction. I don't believe you are an alcoholic for life. And that goes completely different from AA and NA and SA and all the other A's that are out there. I think.
Which have you say I'm an addict every time you come in?
You're
I'm an
perpetuating
alcoholic.
the identity. I'm an alcoholic. Now, I know it's helped a lot of people, but when you look at the recidivism within the AAs and the NAs, etc., it's very high. The recidivism is very high, and you are identifying with this community or culture. And there's the word cult again. And I'm not saying it's a cult. I'm saying the culture perpetuates that identity. I don't know anything about Brett, but I'm going to say if she didn't heal her identity and energetically she was still an addict, she was going to attract circumstances that perpetuate that identity. Because if you have not healed the identity and healed the energy around that identity, you're going to keep attracting circumstances that perpetuate the addiction and perpetuate that lifestyle. I don't believe, by the grace of God, I figured out whatever addiction issues I had very early on, and I don't think I can be subject to that based on the work that I've done. I don't believe so.
There's actually been studies to show, some people drink alcohol, never become alcoholics. Some people smoke cigarettes and don't get addicted to cigarettes. In Vietnam, they found out a lot of guys were taking heroin. Some got addicted, some didn't. Why?
Identity, metabolism.
Identity is huge. I'm going to comment on that because that's very, very core what you're saying.
Addiction is very complicated. How your brain is wired, there's so many things to it. But I can tell you when it comes to substances, that will most likely never happen to me. Why? Because I look at something that doesn't serve me, that's not good for me, and I say, get behind me, Satan. I want nothing to do with any of that. And by the grace of God, I have a different path than Brett's.
Yeah. Well, and it's like people and bad relationships. Some people will date someone, that person's a jerk to them, and they say, I'm out of here. Other people get in a relationship with that person and it's all toxic and they break up and they either go back to that person or they find someone else just as toxic and they do it over and over and over again. It's like they're addicted to a-holes, right? What's going on there?
Great analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the word identity is used in neuroscience and psychology, core identity, false core beliefs, which have to do with our identity. They talk about that fair amount in, certain addiction literature and certain scientific circles. The book Atomic Habits, sold 15 million copies, not about addictions, but habits. But what the author James Clear says in chapter 2 of that book is our habits are a mirror image of our identity, who we believe we are. So what is the identity of an addict at their core? Well, I'll show you a quote from my book, which quotes John Bradshaw, John Bradshaw was an alcoholic who recovered from being an alcoholic, became a psychotherapist, and then wrote the book Healing the Shame That Binds You. He wrote some other really awesome books like John Bradshaw and the Family. There's other ones as well. And he's going to tell you what it was for him. Here we go. Nope. Here we go. All right. So it's it won't let me zoom, but if you see where the bold print is, right above all of that, toxic shame. He says here, I used to drink to solve the problems caused by drinking. The more I drank to relieve my shame-based loneliness and hurt, the more I felt ashamed. And what John Bradshaw says, and I firmly believe this is true, is that toxic shame, feeling not good enough in some way, it could be mild, it could be extreme, but it is at the core of all addiction. Addicts are trying to numb out the pain of toxic shame, because how our brain works is toxic shame is the most painful emotion we have, and our brain does it's a subconscious program in us, especially people who had abusive childhoods, but they have it especially harsh. But even though it's in us, our brain wants to avoid feeling it as much as possible. So some people shut down their feelings. Some people just numb it out with addiction. Some people, rationalize procrastinating. You're avoiding something that, hey, if I fail at this, I'm going to feel like a loser. So you procrastinate it. Or if I don't do it, I'll feel not good enough. So you procrastinate. That's actually the core of procrastination, is feeling bad for not doing it actually makes you not do it. Or you do it and you might fail. That fear makes you procrastinate it. So there's a few other reasons for procrastination. Those are two strongest reasons, though. So for addiction, at the core of all addiction, according to John Bradshaw and others, and I firmly believe this is true, is toxic shame. Well, toxic shame is a core identity trait. I'm not good enough. Loser, failure, whatever, creepy, disgusting, outcast, falling short, inadequate, incompetent, just whatever. Those are all beliefs about not being good enough. That's at the core of addiction. Now you're going to see this. We're going to watch the rest of this Brett Butler thing, because it's going to get more now into her addiction, and you're going to hear her manifesting toxic shame, or talking about her self-loathing, things like that. Fixing your toxic shame is not the only thing to fix addiction. I'll say people with very little toxic shame, extremely low chance of ever becoming addicts. If you have very little toxic shame, you're going to pick up that cigarette and say, or maybe you do it for a while because, but then you're like, you get rid of it, and there's literally people who smoke and never get addicted. Other people do. Same thing with crack, whatever.
Ryan, you had a lot of toxic shame. I had a lot of toxic shame.
I had a lot.
Why didn't we become addicted?
Well, I was a video game addict for sure. Yeah. So I drowned myself out with video games. Yeah, absolutely.
So that was your drug of choice.
Yeah, that was my drug of choice. I also whacked off a lot. So, and it sounds like a joke, but honestly, guys, it's true. That was an addiction for me, but I don't have any of those anymore. I'm just, the funny thing is I play video games now, but I play like 3 hours a week, and honestly, if I play too much, I'm like, man, I'm wasting time. So it's, having cured my toxic shame. Man, there were times before, like I remember one time I played a video game for 17 hours. I would play videos. There's maybe once a week I'd play a video game to like 6 a.m. This was a long time ago, but even in adulthood, I was doing that because I had toxic shame. And it, I remember I play video games for 12 hours and I come out of it and I'd just be kind of like, I'd feel okay. But I remembered if I didn't play them, that for a few days, I'd start to feel just utterly terrible. And I've heard other people who are addicts, I remember one guy was a smoker and my friend asked him, why do you smoke? And he's like, because I feel terrible if I don't. What's the terrible feeling? It's toxic shame. You withdraw from the addiction, and they say it's psychological withdrawal, but the numbing effect of the addiction stops. All that toxic shame in these addicts comes up and they feel terrible. That's a big part of the addiction. I don't think it's the only part. I think you need to find healthy habits because when you engage in addiction, all these other healthy things people do, go out with friends, whatever, go to the wayside. And you're going to have to like reacclimate and, start doing healthy things to replace what the addiction was, doing for you, and then some. I think accountability is very important. And I think also, hey, if you're an alcoholic and you got a bottle of tequila in your house, you're bonkers, you're crazy. We have these neural pathways that get strengthened that make us make it much easier for us to do things. We do have habits, even if someone's not an addict, they can still have a habit, and habits are kind of hard to break. So even if the toxic shame's gone, bare minimum, you still have a habit. And you probably don't have healthy things to replace it because you've just been engaging your addiction, and that replaced all these healthy things you would otherwise do. So recovering from addiction, I think, is a multi-pronged approach. And I think that 12-step programs, again, this is just my personal opinion, and neither of us are medical experts or addiction recovery specialists or anything like that. But I think 12-step programs, they kind of seem, in fact, they actually even say, you know, you'll always be an addict. And they kind of like help you recover from your addiction, but also kind of do things in a way so you perpetuate the group and keep coming back. And so it's kind of tied to like, let's get the addict better, but also let's keep the addict coming back so the group stays around. I really think that dynamic is in these, and that's not a healthy dynamic. Maybe it's necessary for survival of the group, but it's not the healthiest for the individual. So,
just look at the
any
rate.
comments on that?
Yeah, look at the success rate, and anything that perpetuates an identity that isn't the identity that is your higher self, I think has to be examined.
Yeah, I do, Mr. Wrong. I do think on the whole 12-step groups are doing a good service. And I think some people are going to need them. I do think some people will need a 12-step group to help them get sober.
Yeah. It's just like you said, we're not experts, but that is my opinion. I
think they're flawed. I think they could be better, but they're the best we have, and they do help, I believe. Sorry, go ahead.
No.
You look nice in that dress, by the way.
I dressed up for you.
I know. You dressed up for everybody. Looking good.
I dressed up for everybody.
Looking good, baby.
I dressed up for the cause, right?
Yeah, be sure to like and subscribe and put in the comments how good Teresa looks.
And that's the reason why you subscribed, because of how I dressed up today.
Yeah, what's your Instagram? Important. You need more followers.
That'll give me a raise, right?
There you go. Yeah, you do look good though. All right. Sorry, keep going. I've been in
anything to get that raise. No, I'm here at my own volition because I want to be here and I want to support the cause, because Ryan, your heart is absolutely in the right place, and you've got the technology. You've got a path for people to heal their toxic shame and change their life. And I'm here to tell you, I'm one to tell you, don't give up. Oh my gosh, who I am today is, I could not have imagined being who I am today.
We have changed our core identities.
We've changed our identity, and I continue. The vision I have for my life and who I'm becoming is different than I am today. I'm constantly leveling up, and I want to level up. And it's not that I don't love myself today. It's, I know there's more possible. I know there's another level of me that's possible. Let's go back to Brett. God love her. Okay. Right? Let's go back to Brett.
I love, she actually gets interviewed with Dr. Drew. You guys can look that up on YouTube. I don't think we'll have time to play that, but she's just so honest and authentic in her interview. Just God bless her for that and sharing her story, because I do think it does help others.
Absolutely.
Right. We'll keep going. Boom.
The drug dependence completely changed her personality and made her incredibly difficult to work with. This grew worse and worse as the seasons went on.
Well, the drug causes more shame, and shame leads you to projecting negative stuff outwards, which will make you pretty difficult. Yeah.
And the quality of the show started to wane, as did its ratings. Her drug habit reached its peak during
the drug covers the shame and causes it simultaneously.
4th season, and the show plunged down the ratings.
Or triggers it, rather.
As well. She finally entered a rehab facility before the 5th season. That move caused the network to have to delay the start of shooting season 5. When they finally did start to shoot, Brett kept relapsing. That would cause her to miss taping days. Sensing it was a lost cause, ABC finally canceled Grace Under Fire. They had only filmed 14 of the 25 expected episodes, but it appeared the show was not salvageable due to Brett's behavior. Brett's recovery. She managed to fully recover from her addictions not long after the show was canceled. The pressures of being the lead on a hit TV show might have made it harder to quit, but once she was free from that burden, she was able to focus on getting better. She's been sober since 1998. She made the requisite phone calls and meetings with people she felt she had wronged along the way, which helped her process. She also has had enough time away from the show to be able to look with a more objective lens. And while she can't bring herself to watch it, she understands it was her behavior that took it down. In an interview for The Hollywood Reporter, Butler said, quote, "I'll definitely take the hit for the crash and burn." She added that while there were a lot of mistakes done by a lot of people who worked on the show, she was the face and its lead star. So she accepts it was up to her to keep things glued together, and she failed on that account. She fully admits she was a really difficult person to work with, especially towards the final seasons, even saying ABC probably should have pulled the plug way sooner. Brett's fortune. At the peak of Grace Under Fire, Brett Butler was earning $250,000 an episode, and yet only a decade later, she was flat broke. But according to Butler, she didn't know how to handle her finances. She said it was a combo of a bunch of factors. One was that she just spent way too much. Another was she was too trusting of people who worked with her and had a lot essentially stolen. She also gave away.
How do you think toxic shame plays in there, Teresa, with money, giving your money away, spending too much, etc.?
Same pattern. It goes back to identity. Her identity was someone who didn't deserve that fame.
She grew up poor.
I'm guessing, right? She grew up poor. Her identity was poor. Her identity was, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve success. You sabotage yourself to get back with who you believe you are and what you deserve in life. It's 1,000. Your outside life is 1,000% aligned with your inside life. It is all an inside job. Her inside job was, I don't deserve fame and fortune. Let me find circumstances energetically. You don't do this consciously. It happens energetically. It happens unconsciously. Let me create the outside circumstance that is aligned with how I feel inside.
100%.
We are so powerful. We are so powerful.
Our subconscious is 1,000 times more powerful than our conscious mind. It's been measured. Neuroscience and psychology knows how powerful our subconscious is. But when like any supercomputer, it'll run a virus. If you got viruses in you, it's going to be working against you, not for you. Yeah. So I'll show you guys one other quote real quick. I'm sorry, I did interrupt. My apologies. I get pretty excited about this stuff. Here's from Atomic Habits, Identity-Based Habits, James Clear. Science knows this. This is all based on a lot of research he did. He says right here, your current behaviors are a reflection of your current identity. What you do is a mirror image of the person you believe you are consciously or subconsciously. Well, it's 95% subconscious. Science knows that too. To change your behavior for getting, you start believing new things about yourself, build identity-based habits. He's really just talking about changing your identity and your habits will change. What you feel at your core is going to affect what you do. I cleared my toxic shame with self-hypnosis. 2 years later, my income doubled and I wasn't even trying. It's like, wow, that was kind of weird. And then I actually tried and doubled it again, you know. Amazing. But when you upgrade your core, stuff like that just happens. It's people like you more. I mean, you get in better relationships, you make more money, you're more productive. I mean, it changes everything. That's why above all, we work on your core. Yeah. Above all, upgrade your core. Sorry, you had something to say, Teresa.
Okay.
Okay, very good. We will finish out this clip. You have you got to go in 3 or 4 minutes.
I've got a few minutes. Yeah, let's finish that.
Very good. All right, keep going.
A lot of her money because she felt a certain amount of guilt for having it in the first place. All in all, the money.
Yeah, we commented right before that amazing quote. She felt guilt for having it in the first place.
Money was soon all gone, and she had to struggle to make ends meet. After Grace, another reason she struggled is that she had trouble finding work. She had a few projects that were promising after Grace Under Fire ended, like a daytime panel show, as well as a remake of an older detective show called McCloud, but these fell through. Eventually, she decided her best move was to head to Georgia. Her sisters lived there, so she'd be closer to them. She'd also get out of the glare of Hollywood. She bought a farm and began living a drastically different and simpler life. She collected rescued animals ranging from dogs and cats to horses. But even that situation ended badly. She had expected she'd get about $1 million from a deal for Grace Under Fire DVDs, but that deal fell through. As such, she was forced to sell her farm. She moved back to Hollywood to see if she could try acting again and resurrect her career. We should also note Butler has denied that she ever ended up homeless, despite a feature on Entertainment Tonight that claimed that. She says the producer made that up for ratings, and she's always had a roof over her head. The years since, Brett has glowing things to say about her friend Charlie Sheen, who lobbied hard for her to get a recurring role on Anger Management. She says the network didn't want her, but Charlie went to bat, and she got the part. That allowed her to start making money again as an actress, which has been followed by a string of roles and steady work. But even
Charlie knows what it's like because he has compassion for her because he's been through it too.
These roles have not provided as much income as you'd expect. 33 episodes of anger management only netted her enough to keep an apartment in LA and pay for basic expenses. She's managed to find work since.
That's what you get with $500,000 a year in LA. Anyways, we'll keep going.
Such as roles on The Walking Dead and The Morning Show. But then she was hit with a bout of severe depression that coincided with the COVID-19 pandemic. Depression ran in her family, and Butler says it started flaring up for her when she reached her 50s. In her Hollywood Reporter interview, she likened it to a monster that moved in with her, and that it's led to both agoraphobia and suicidal thoughts.
What do you think's going on there, Teresa? You think they're related? Addiction, depression?
Oh, I think people get depressed that aren't addicted, and it could be that we're all addicted and we just don't, I think everybody is open to depression and all of that. And I will say this, if you don't find a way to express your emotions, grief, anger, get stored in the body. All emotions get stored in the body, right? Yeah. And if you don't find a way to express it and move it out of your body, it's going to sit there and lying in wait for an opportunity to come out and take you down.
Yeah. Depression is depressing something down, right?
It's anger toward inward as well, right? I mean, there's so many different ways of explaining depression.
I had very severe depression with mania. It's more depression than mania, but I had the manias too. And core of my depression was toxic shame, 100%. Toxic shame. I'll tell you the part that made me depressed was it's not okay for me to feel what I feel. My feelings are unacceptable. Who I am is unacceptable. What I want is unacceptable. And that will, it'll cause problems. So, hey, listen, Brett Butler, I'll do as many sessions as it takes to get you better, I mean, honestly, I hope she can, I'm sure she's been through therapy. I'm sure she's been through normal therapy, but they don't fix the core, or they do it very inefficiently. So I should say, it's too bad because you can tell she's a good lady. You see on that clip, she's talking to Dr. Drew.
Yeah.
And there is a Dr. Drew Brett Butler interview. You can watch on YouTube, and you can see she's just a very honest. I mean, she goes to the farm and is trying to take care of rescue animals. She has a good heart, It's but this is childhood abuse, all that stuff is gonna repressing your feelings, all of that. It's going to lead to this. Yeah.
Brett's comeback. Brett continues to take it one day at a time and continues to find occasional roles, and she deals with her depression. She says part of her potential comeback is likely to include stand-up.
What's that?
We can't see the video.
Oh.
I don't know what you did to the screen, but
there you go.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, thank you.
Comedy. Because of the ups and downs of her career in the past 2 decades, she hasn't found herself wanting to write or perform jokes. But in recent times, she's begun to jot down comedic ideas in her notebook. She notes that if she had a deadline for a special, she could probably come up with enough material to make it great. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you ever watch Grace Under Fire? Let us know in the comment section below.
All right, so that's it. Any final thoughts, Teresa?
God bless her.
Yeah. Just a good, genuine lady who's had a lot of trauma.
No different than most people walking around.
A lot of people have a lot of trauma in our world. And, actually, I've done several hundred sessions at this point for people, and we just don't know what people are going through, And I get a little upset sometimes that you see some of these people online, and there's like, this person's an addict, what a loser, or this person's overweight, what a loser, what a fat, this and that and the other. And they're just, look at this guy in his basement just playing video games all day, and what a useless piece of trash. And, you see people judging these people, and it's like, guys, you don't know their trauma. Maybe they are just lazy. More likely, they actually probably have trauma. Mm-hmm. And trauma can really screw you up. I know from experience, having had really bad manic depression, CPTSD, just anxiety all the time. Teresa, you had your struggles too, but we clear it out, and then you up level, you get what you want, and you can be happy. You really can. So you can start the journey at MindChrysalis.com. Go there because there's actually stuff to get you better, and it doesn't cost a thing. So you can start there. And we're here to change the world and up-level the world. That's why we have a show. Thanks for watching. Is anything final before we leave, Teresa?
No, the best investment one can make is in themselves. That will pay so many dividends over and over and over and over again. So, and you're giving away so much for free. So,
yeah, well, very well said. The best investment you can make is in yourself. You know, take the time, do it. You guys are worth it. If you do invest in yourself, you're going to find something that we figured out. We didn't know at first, but we figured it out by investing in ourselves. And that is that you actually do have more power than you know. That's our show. Thanks, guys.